Getting hit multiple times coming out of that bike section. More drivers coming to blows. Well, hello and good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back here to Slow Motion Broadcasting, and welcome back to the Formula V Weekend Warriors. This is round number 8 of this season, coming to you today from Phillip Island. My name is Ron Maunz. Alongside me in the commentary booth, working the comms and the cams, as always, is Joshua Wilkie. It's been a little while since I was on these shows. I need to get the flow of saying the comms and the cans here. But Josh, it's Phillip Island. We've been here before, here with the Vs, but this time with a little twist. We're going to be racing in the rain. So this is pretty much take everything that we usually expect about Phillip Island. In some aspects, you can throw it through out completely with the trash, or you can just kind of crank it up by 10. This is gonna be a wild one for sure.
Yeah, absolutely, Ron. Good to have you back, man, for sure. And we're back here in the rain. Had some pretty amazing races around here, rain or otherwise. I'm not expecting any different today. A little bit of a smaller field, perhaps, than we're usually used to, but I think we're still going to have a pretty good one around here in the rain. Today's race sponsor, of course, being Dan Trzynski and the Four Finger Discount Podcast. So we have to thank them a whole bunch for today's show. But yeah, Ron, I think we're going to have a good one. There we go. There's a shot with some rain coming down finally from our pictures here. And I think it's going to be an interesting one for sure. Just adds another layer, right?
Yeah, it's as a great Prometheus Shrek once said, it's like an onion. There's a lot of layers to Formula V racing here. That's the first time that comparison has been in the history of mankind. I can say that with most confidence. But we're going to have some fun here. You know, the rain just pretty much going to be consistent, going to be constant, going to have some fun. And as you mentioned a few moments ago, we would like to thank Dan Trzynski and the Four Finger Podcast for making this, for Four Finger Discount Podcast, for making this show possible. Today's race is sponsored by the Four Finger Podcast, located just across the port from Phillip Island in Geelong, Australia. Every week, Guy and Dando bring you in-depth reviews of all the shenanigans of the world's favorite yellow family, The Simpsons. After 11 years of podcasts, they've worked their way into season 21 of the show, with stops along the way to interview cast and crew from the golden era and the present. But like a flaming Moe, you can't just have one. They'll give you more. With going down to South Park, talking Seinfeld, the one about Friends, talking Muppets, Tales of Futurama, and Spear King of the Hill, as well as movie reviews, both classic and modern. They have something for everybody to listen to on their drive. We'd like to thank Four Finger Discount Podcast and Dan Trzynski for making this broadcast possible. That's certainly a unique ad read. I was of all the shows that I ever thought that I would read about on the air, Simpsons podcast. More, you know. See, Josh, you were professing your love and interest in the Simpsons right before we grabbed the green flag to start off this broadcast.
Yeah, absolutely. I am just aware of this podcast today, and my interest is definitely perked here. I did actually post the link as well. If you're watching along with us here, there is a link in the chat. You can check that podcast out. So thanks a whole bunch for the sponsor today, and I will 100% be checking that out. They're I think the Simpsons are actually kind of they're a large part of our lives. I think over the years, they've been on for so long, in my generation at least. All of the sayings and so many of the jokes and everything else there are so much part of our nomenclature and everything else that, I'm a huge fan of The Simpsons, huge fan of Futurama, basically everything they, those teams put out. And I'll definitely be checking that podcast out. So pretty cool. And you can see our livery there on Dan Trzynski as well today, done by our friend there, Tom Wen at TW3. Got that one done up for him, and that's a pretty cool livery for the podcast. You can see them at their desk there. So I'll be checking that one out for sure, and so should you. It looks like they've talked to some writers and some actors and stuff on the show, and it looks pretty interesting. So if you're into that, check it out.
And I will say, to be fully honest, I personally, see, it's odd. Ever since I got access to the internet, I just kind of stopped watching regular television as a whole. I was born actually, I'm gonna break this down here before we get too far off into qualifying. I like to have a good time here on SMB.
Of course.
I was born between episode 5 and 6 of season 16 of The Simpsons.
That's so that crazy to me. Wow.
That was right around there. That is see, it feels like not that long of a time ago, and then I remember that I have as bad of back pain as I do.
Yeah, well, my back pain is significantly older and more experienced than yours at this stage. Although, that's pretty crazy to me because, The Simpsons came out when I was about, I must have been about 10. 8 or 10 or something. It was pretty much directed, right at my audience there. I remember actually seeing them open on the Tracy Ullman show, which was one of their first shorts that they did, and I remember kind of falling in love with them then, as my mother loved the Tracy Ullman show. But perhaps we will get back to the racing here instead of talking about our giant age gap and how old that made me feel moments ago there, Ron. But here we are with Guido Marzucci, 202.7 for him, and really close. Tortello just in front of him there. Obviously, we're still kind of in the wee hours here, aren't we, of qualifying. And during these rain sessions like this, Ron, the track can change a lot. It can feel like it's alive from one lap to the next, and generally speaking, they get slower. Of course, that can all change if it stops raining, but it doesn't look like it's gonna.
Whether you're a driver or a broadcaster, you tend to talk about racetracks as if they are people. They've got a soul, they've got a character to them, and they've got various moods that they can be in. This racetrack, I think, is going to be one that is maybe not in the best of mood for these drivers, and maybe the opposite will be true. These drivers will not be in the mood for this racetrack either, but one man that certainly is Tortello, your provisional pole sitter. Alan DeGassis and Jim Brewster making up your second row at the moment. Guido, of course, joining Tor on your front row right now, provisional front row. Still a little bit of time left here in qualifying. Martin Visser is currently qualified in 5th, top qualifier of the Spec 2 racers right now. It's probably going to be advantage Shore heading off into this race. He's pretty much just the rain maestro here in these cars. See, it does make sense to some degree. We always talk about the multinational nature of Tor and the life that he's lived. Actually learned not too recently that he's just around about my same age. I think he's about 22, so he's just a tick older than I am. But Tor, we think he grew up, kind of started racing in New England, then moved to Japan, and now races in the UK. If there's any, outside of talking about racing in Brazil or maybe in Northern Europe, those are the areas where you think of rain racing the most, I would say. He's got a whole lot of experience running in the rain, and every single time we have a rain race here in the Formula V's, it really does show.
Oh, right as you say that, he loses the back of the car. That may have been, possibly been on purpose there. You might be having some fun, but you're 100% right, Ron. Experience in conditions like rain or snow or really any sort of inclement weather or anything like that at all is master for sure. That's what you need. You need the experience in it. Don't think there's too many people that jump into a car in the rain and immediately are fast and completely get it and understand. This is something you have to do over and over again and get used to, especially a drying track and a drying line. These are things that you have to experience and you have to do often. We'll see how much that line dries up today or how much wetter it does get if things change like that. But I can say from at least my own experience, driving the FFs, when we had one season there, I don't think maybe we had two dry races the entire season. It felt like it was difficult at first to, iRacing does such an amazing job at changing weather that it really does change out there, and you really do get a different feel. And if you don't kind of change to the weather around you, if you're not aware of that happening around you, you find yourself caught out and in a wall or sideways or backwards or in the rhubarb very quickly. So, that's again something that you need experience and being able to experience it even in real life all over the world and stuff too. A is amazing, and B is going to give you a bit of an advantage, I would think.
Yeah, it's going to be a fascinating day here in the sim. I think Tor still has that upper hand, but you look at the drivers throughout the field. Actually, one story that I do want to bring up here, I didn't get the opportunity to message him as I was talking with Josh. Both Mr. Wilkie and I have had very busy weeks. Josh had a treatment trip. I was caught up in the editing suite for a new video on my own channel up until about 12:45. On the day of its release, and it goes out at 2, so that was definitely a tight turnaround. But Jim Brewster wants to let us know that on May the 22nd, he's actually going to have some surgery done on his right hand, so we won't be seeing him for a couple of weeks here in this series. We certainly want to wish Jim well, and he was maybe interested if you'd want to hop into the booth as well. We'll have to get in contact with that. That'd be good. See, Jim is not, he's kind of like like me exemplified a lot. He knows how to. He has a gift of gab, and he also knows what he's talking about when it comes to these cars as well. So that'd be awesome.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. I think I may have a bit of a difficult time getting a word in edgewise in the booth, but I'm thinking we'll probably have him in, and we'll just let you guys go there and have some fun. Maybe I can just produce back here and I'll fill in a little bit, and Jim can try a round or two while he's recovering there. Obviously does so much work in the background and stuff, and wants to be a part of it. He did actually reach out to me too, and hey, do you mind if I maybe jump in the booth there? So absolutely, man, we'll have you up in the booth, and perhaps maybe I'll just take a bit of a back seat there, and you guys can go, or maybe we'll just have him in for a bit. We'll see how it all works out, but yeah, obviously, lots of thanks to Jim Brewster out there. He actually gave us a few things to think about today there. He's saying, they were 3 wide at the line during their practice, so if that bodes for our race here, we've had a lot of really close ones here, so I kind of was expecting something like that as well. But painted curbs obviously are going to be a big deal around here as well. He's mentioning something I was definitely going to get to at some point is, there is pretty big curbs here, and if you use them, there's a lot of lap time in it, but I don't think you're going to be touching them too much, as we see just a Jason Grider just touching one on the straightaway there. You don't want to be on that curb when you're changing orientation of the car, when you're grabbing those brakes, or you're probably going to end up sideways or something. So that's going to be something that we'll probably see someone get taken out with, and or at least have a moment, I would say.
Yeah, there's many pitfalls around this racetrack. At the end of the day, we do have to remind ourselves the fact this racetrack is in Australia. It is, as our esteemed colleague, Mr. Jared Gregory, would say, it is down under. So
it's down under.
There's the amount of things in Australia that I'm scared of is it's a lengthy list. But even here at this racetrack, you're not having to worry about spiders that can basically turn your skin green or yellow, considering the sponsor here. You don't have snakes that will basically turn your body into just a tube of toothpaste. It's just a lot of pitfalls out there on the racetrack that'll come back and bite you at the worst time. Sam Chapman jumps his way up into third. We're on the dying breath of this session. 20 seconds left to go here. So we'll be able to get things up, rocking and rolling very, very soon here on the show. It's going to be a lot of fun. And after last week's race at Barber Motorsports Park, that I did get to hear a little bit of it. I was behind the wheel of the family Jeep driving down I-95, coming back from my my niece's communion. That shows you the closeness of the family. I always forget the exact verbiage there, but my niece's communion over in New Jersey had some. You wouldn't think there's some good tacos at the communion. That was very, very good. Those have been stuck in my head. El Paisano was apparently the place where they got most of their ingredients. I'll have to stop down there. It's not too far away from Pat's and Gino's. Go down there for some good tortillas and not some good cheesesteaks. Pat's and Gino's absolutely sucks. Let's take a look at our starting grid here, shall we? Before I start to set off a war between one half of Philly and the other half. Tortello will start this race from the pole position. Guido Marzouki going to join him on the front row. Sam Chapman, the Aussie, will start his home race in third next to Alan DeGassis in fourth. Jim Brewster will start this race in fifth next to your Spec 2 man of Martin Visser, starting from that Spec 2 pole. Is Brian Stasinski starting this race in seventh next to his brother Dan. Brian Hansen will be in ninth. Gary Cattell will round out your top 10. Joshua Justice will start this race in P11. Next to him will be Angel Soto. And then rounding out your field here tonight will be Jason Grider next to Paul Cordeshi. I apologize to Paul if I did butcher that pronunciation. The Masters driver didn't get the opportunity to cover him last week. I heard there were apparently some butcherings of his name, so maybe I'll have to get Guido to give me the skinny on that tomorrow when the Weekend Warriors return. A double feature here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. I want to thank the fine folks over at the Sim Racers Group for making those broadcasts possible. Quick little rundown of the championship points. We were too busy talking about the Simpsons and with cheesesteaks in the pre-race show.
It's a lot to get to today, yeah.
Yeah, we've had a lot of storylines so far. Here's how it looks like in the points. Tortello leading, bet 100 over Guido Marzouki. Sam Chapman is there in third. Michelle Lynn, not out there on the racetrack, taking a break from the series. Is about 30 back of Chapman and a little bit in front of Joshua Justice, who completes your top 5 in the Spec 1 category. We'll take a look now at the Spec 2 class, where as it stands currently, it is okay, that's your Masters points. Jim, that's freaky.
Oh, it looks like
Jim
we've had a
Brewster
snafu with the points here.
The points leader with Nick Tolo in second and Wayne Buttermore running at your third. That is for you. We'll take a look at
this would actually, yeah, you know what? We're just going to skip this because it looks like, unfortunately, our points are, yeah, we've got some sort of a point snafu. We'll have to call up our points guy and and see if he can't fix that for us before tomorrow. But perhaps we'll just pivot on here to race start. Guido and Tortello side by side here. I would want to be getting a jump here, I think, into T1. This is going to be a bit of a contentious run, I think, down to the first corner. And Tor's going to get that jump right away. Just caught Guido and the rest of the field snoozing there. And he's going to get a pretty good jump there to start this one off, Ron.
Yeah, a pretty odd start to this race already. The green flag flies. The drivers are on their way, and we're racing here in Australia. It's a good start there from Tortello. Good start as well for Guido. Bad starts for both Stasinski and Chapman. Brian Stasinski, I believe, did not take the start. Neither too did Sam Chapman. So some drivers rejoining the racetrack already at the tail end of the field. Those will be some interesting storylines to keep our eyes on through as we go throughout the rest of this race. But as they head their way off through turn number one, it is Tortello leading this race right now over Guido Marzuki. Alan DeGassis jumps his way up into third. Everybody has rejoined the racetrack, and a black flag as well for Brian Hansen. Unfortunately for him, a potential start violation has caught him out as we ride on board with Jim Brewster. Taking a look at some battling here.
They're actually on board with Angel Soto at the moment. You can see that spray happening there. I mean, it's something they're all going to have to deal with out there for sure. The track is pretty evenly wet by the looks of it, isn't it, Ron? I'm not seeing too many dry patches out there. Also not really seeing a lot of standing water either, though. So conditions looking pretty good at the moment. Not too difficult. Once you start seeing that standing water or those drying patches, either one, things start to get a little bit more difficult. At least right now, you have sort of an even playing field to deal with out there. Brian Hansen, yeah, did get a black flag. We'll try to figure out exactly how that one happened. Perhaps he jumped the start or something. Not exactly sure. Maybe passed someone before the line on the inside. Not really sure what happened there, but he's going to have to go serve that. Unfortunately, that's really going to hurt him. But Tor out to a good lead here. Guido just behind him. Alan DeGassis, Masters driver, and then our first S2 driver of Martin Visser there is going to be in overall fourth place at the moment here. So we're off to a fairly good start. Bit of an odd start there, wasn't it, Ron? Everybody kind of stretched out. Looks like everybody was sort of tiptoeing around, not sure what to do, and then boom, we were racing.
Yeah, pretty wild start, and when I said that we were riding on board with Jim Brewster, that was Angel Soto. Well caught there, Mr. Wilkie. It was at that point that I realized that although I was in the session and looking at everything properly, I was not connected in through the production software.
Oh, there you go.
That's on me. Reminder, folks, that I've been doing this stuff for nearly a full seventh of my life, and I already make mistakes like that. It happens. We're all professionals. We like to have a good time. Side by side battling here. That's a good little view of it. Running on board with Dan Zazinski as he just got a move put on him by Paul Korodeshi. That's a good spot for him right now in that 980 machine. Already 7 spots gained since the drop of the green flag, along with Paul Angel Soto scything their way through the running order right now. Up 6 spots for the driver running in P6 and 7 spots for the driver running in P7. So there you go.
Huh. Look at that, 6-7. I'm not exactly sure what that means. The kids say it all the time. It's supposed to confuse people, I think, which is just ultra ridiculous. But anyways, on to things that are more important here. Jim Brewster now getting some pressure here from Angel Soto. Paul Korodeshi. I'm not exactly sure how to do that one. We are going to have to look in to the pronunciation of that last name. But the 993 here definitely dealing with a little bit of pressure now behind. And you know, these races, this is when you definitely have to just keep your eyes forward, especially in the rain. Try not to worry too much about what's going on behind you there. Keep those conditions in your mind. Keep that ever-changing condition in your mind as well. See if you can't get that maybe leg up on your competition a little bit. But definitely Angel here looking for a way around the 933 at the moment. Hopefully here we will not see any type of contact or anything between these guys, but it's starting to get they're starting to pack drive a little bit here.
Yeah, so keeping it smooth, keeping it clean. As I will say, we received some word in the YouTube chat about some of the other shenanigans that may have gone down on that first lap. Sam Chapman had a pedal failure on that pace lap, as well as Brian Zazinski, who picked up damage. I assume there was some contact there between the two. and he got damaged, and they gave him a black flag for pitting on the pace lap. So that's how quickly things can go wrong for you here in this series. Unfortunate there. Yeah, that's a problem with iRacing. I said this a bit earlier on in a show that I was doing just before we went live on this one. iRacing can be rather unforgiving in situations like that. We ride on board now in a little battle. This is at the moment for P2 of the Masters drivers. That's Jim Brewster and Paul right now in the 980 car. Now, I looked into this, aka I Googled it to see whether or not this was. I believe it's Kordesky. So we will we will run with that,
right.
Kordesky, and if it does end up poor, I will blame Google's top search result, which would be a very easy thing to blame. I remember one time looking up for synonyms for a certain word. I think the other word that I was looking for was a synonym for venerable, and in the list, they listed venerable twice as a synonym for venerable.
Yeah, that's a bit secular, isn't it? Yeah, that's not really how that works, is it? But looking behind Tortolo now at Guido Marzucci, still not really making any headway here. I would think that they're probably happy to just kind of be in a line at the moment here. And as long as they can kind of keep this other pack that you can see back there behind them and that they're not catching, then that's kind of what I would want to be doing right now, is maintaining this gap probably if I were these three drivers here. But of course in the rain you never really know exactly what's going to happen. Martin Visser here on a bit of an island by himself in between the two packs here. I wouldn't imagine that's going to be forever either. He's either going to get caught or catch up. Another little jockeying for position here as Jim Brewster is going to take that position back from Angel Soto. Paul, what is that again? Kordesky is also going to lose a position there to Angel.
Yeah, Kordesky holding on to P6 at the current moment, make that 7th as Angel Soto gets a move put on him, heading their way around that never-ending final turn here of this lap. There's also some battling up the road. Guido Marzucchi and Tortolo squabbling at the moment here for P2, for the race lead, actually, as Alan DeGassis, they start to squabble with Tullo for second. There they are, heading their way off through turn number 1 here in this race. It's been a smooth start all in all. The only retirement is Brian Szynski, who probably was not a fan of iRacing penalty there. It has been a smooth one. You know, not the biggest field in the world. Not a lot of drivers showing up here to Phillip Island. It is still behind the paywall here in iRacing, so it's not part of base content, and with the rain as well, that can be a slight deterrent. But still seeing our usual tight-knit Formula V Weekend Warriors community out there on the racetrack, and treating us to a fair smattering of battles to invoke a little bit of 1950s radio diction.
Yeah, absolutely. And anytime you can bring some 1950s radio diction in there, I'm all game for it for sure. It definitely works at its time. Gary Kittle actually doing a really good job in the rain today here, following Josh Justice. We know Josh Justice is a very fast driver, maybe struggling a little bit today here, but the 976 Gary Kittle doing a good job here in 10th place. He will be in 4th overall in Masters at the moment. Sam Chapman just behind him, trying to make up some time here from having that pedal issue at the beginning. He is still out there, so we'll see what he can't figure out here. But still some racing going on in the back here as well. A couple packs of driving. Mainly we have these two packs here consisting of Guido Marzucci, Tor, and Allen, and then you're going to get a bit of a gap to Martin, and then we have another pack there of Jim, Angel, Paul, and Dan kind of bringing up the rear of that one. Looks like Joshua Justice making a bit of headway into this pack, so we could have a race on our hands here by the end. Jim actually look like he's got a little bit of front end damage there on his car, and in the background we are going to lose Paul, and he's going to hit that imaginary barrier in the iRacing service there, and unfortunately knock the cone off the front of that car. Not looking good there out in the rhubarb. He's going to try to figure it out here, but lose a lot of positions in the process, unfortunately, and a meatball flag, Ron.
I think he's slightly bamboozled. Oh, no, there we go. Happened again. Let's load up the replay to see what happened here. This is heading off through turn number 11.
Curb.
Hit the curb there. That's the pitfall that you've got in the rain, and there's that whack there on the inside. Now at that point, I was wondering why he wasn't getting it turned around. That's why both front wheels were broken off immediately upon impact. At that point, you cannot steer using the force. There's a lot of things that the force will allow you to do. Steer a Formula V, not one of them.
No, definitely not. It's going to be a little hard to to turn the car when you're not connected to your front wheels anymore, for sure. So unfortunately, he's going to be out of this one, and that's so easy to do. Like I was saying in the run-up, all you got to do is touch those curbs, just get a little tiny bit complacent with your spatial awareness there, and dip a wheel, and whoop, you're gone. And it's almost impossible to get it back, especially in a short wheelbase car like this one here. You're not going to get that snap back most of the time, and unfortunately, he ran into the invisible wall there, and that's going to rip the front of the car off. But up front here with Tor, you know what? We're actually on a replay mode here. For some reason, we got stuck there. Let's see if we can't get back up front to our live pictures here. Tor is leading still here over Guido. Yeah, Alan DeGas is just having a look in the back here. I think he's probably just maintaining that gap, isn't he, Ron? You just kind of want to play it safe here. See if you can keep this this group of cars together until the end. And we do still have quite a bit of time here, about 20 minutes left on the clock here. So all to play for still, and lots more laps to be done.
Yeah, so a long way left to go here in this race. We're just now a third of the way through it. So a lot of battling left to get hot. We got Tortolo leading this race. Guido Marzucchi still right behind him, about a tenth of a second as they headed their way onto the start-finish straightaway. Now Guido pulling out to try and get the move done side by side as they head their way towards the stripe. Now, although the rain is throwing a massive wrench in the works, Phillip Island is still doing Phillip Island things. My tongue may have gotten wrapped around my teeth about 17 times when I was trying to say this in the open. With this rain around this track, you can take some portions of the general way that racing goes here and throw them out the window. Other things, though, you have to, like, crank up to, like, double the amount. The slipstream, I think, may end up being one of them, which is odd to say, because usually whenever we think of the rain as just being the great equalizer, you can just forget about the slipstreaming. But I think it may actually exemplify it a little bit just because of how easy it is to mess up your approach onto that start-finish straightaway.
Yeah, it's actually a really good point, Ron. It's actually, yeah, you're right. It might actually show its head a little bit more than usual in these conditions where sometimes it might not matter as much. This one's actually may actually make that a little bit more. So yeah, we'll see how it works out here. Definitely trying to, I'm keeping an eye on these gaps and how they're being managed. And up front, you got Guido, Tor, and Alan, and they're basically leapfrogging each other and giving each other no resistance down that straightaway. And they're maintaining a pretty good gap, and they're able to stay away from Martin Visser, Jim Brewster, and then this other pack that's behind them. Whereas Jim Brewster and Angel, as well as Dan here, Dan's not really part of this, but they're not managing that gap quite as well. They're losing a bit of time by fighting each other, maybe not in the right spots, and applying pressure in spots where it maybe make the other driver go defensive. So I don't think they're going to be able to catch up, but we will see. Depending, that can change in a lap or two, depending on what happens. And we're going to actually, as I'm speaking, lose Angel there, so he is going to not have a draft partner anymore, and maybe he's kind of dusting his hands going, phew, okay, good, now I don't have some pressure. But I think, honestly, if you work together there, they'd be able to kind of maybe move forward a little bit more on.
Yeah, no, teamwork makes the dream work. My middle school counselor taught me that very important lesson back in the day. But you do have to work together as like pseudo teammates here in these Formula Vs, all kidding aside. If you don't, you're pretty much done for. Now, this battling that we're seeing up at the front, it does a lot. And it gives us some action to talk about here in the booth. It also helps those drivers, keep the momentum rolling. It also helps as well that Martin Visser does have a sparring partner. It is Paul Kordeshki, so that is not exactly the greatest help in the world, but it is some. It is some amount of assistance there. So it's not allowing Martin Visser just to drop off into no man's land and fall into the crutches of the likes of Jim Brewster, Dan Szynski, and Angel Soto in that 3-pack of Vs directly behind. However, those three squabbling in the way that they are, it's keeping that momentum rolling. It's keeping everything going here in this race. And it's allowing them not to lose out on a lot of time. If they battle all through the turns, you can forget about it. That 6-second gap would probably close up by the time the checkered flag comes, even without an incident. But because of the way that they're going about this, you think of Tortolo, Guido Marzucchi, and Alan DeGassis, very experienced drivers here in the Vs. They combined for a lot of wins. Alan DeGassis nearly ended up getting an overall win a couple of seasons ago. Unfortunately, an incident coming towards a checkered flag netted him a penalty that cost him the win in that event. But you think of Tortello, your reigning two-time champion. In fact, he's got that number 1 on his car for a very good reason. Guido Marzucchi, pretty much the only person who can regularly challenge Tullo for alien status here in these Vs. They know what they're doing, they know what they're talking about, and they know how to run these Formula V races in not just a quick way, but in a methodical way.
Yeah, absolutely, Ron. That's right. You can see them here. They're not really squabbling much, through the wiggly bits or the fiddly bits, I like to call them. And actually, I have noticed you started calling them as well. They're not really fighting too much through there, and maybe that's because the pace is the same, right? You can have an issue where maybe between Jim Brewster and Angel Soto that one of them's a little faster through the middle, and they just kind of haven't figured out where each other are fast yet, and to give each other that room. But here, you have a pretty good, leapfrog effect that they're able to do, as Alan DeGassis now is going to pull out from the rear all the way up to the front. And we're watching back here, this pack driving and side-by-side driving, is a little bit more, you're having to throw defense up and stuff, and that's going to be a lot slower through corners. Mind you, there is a totally different race going on back here with Joshua Justice and Sam Chapman for position, and they're fighting a completely different battle here. But if you bring it back to the likes of Jim Brewster and Angel here in the background, if they play together, that they could move forward a little bit more. But of course, Jim is in a category of his own here. He's not necessarily wanting to catch up to Alan or thinks that he's going to. He wants to hold this position. He wants to make sure he holds Gary Kittle off, or whatever they're thinking out there, or they're just racing. It can make things a little bit difficult to find your competitor's pace every once in a while and be able to get into that ebb and flow. But like you're saying, Ron, up at front here with Tor Tullo, Alan DeGassis, Guido Marzucchi, they're just masters of that. They're going to be able to go back and forth and not lose time.
Yeah, it is. At the end of the day, it may be battling, but it is playful battling. Now, granted, we're now about 14 minutes away from the fall of the checkered. In about 14 minutes' time, when there's 5 seconds left on the clock, you can probably forget about everybody being very civil, calm, and taking it easy, because everybody's going to want a shot at glory. Especially so. See, here's the thing. When I started off doing this broadcasting stuff, an iRacing 12-week season felt like forever and a day. I still think that we're in week 4. We are in week 8 now. This is absolutely... The time flies when you're having fun, I suppose. But we're right towards the end of the season, so these drivers do have a lot of championship considerations. For Tortello and Guido Marzucchi, they are so clear of their competition that they don't really need to go about these races with the hands of a surgeon. They can kind of just go through it just with an axe. You don't want to go for the jugular every time, but they can certainly be a little bit more playful in their battles. Alan DeGassis, who just recently cycled out to be your overall race leader, though, he's still looking to try and make some inroads in that Masters Championship fight. And with Jim Brewster missing out on some races a little bit later on this season, I think Alan senses a real opportunity to potentially win the Masters Championship here this season. So very different agendas of all your top 3. Agendas that do have one same goal, that being winning this race, but the equation to get there is very, very different.
Yeah, that's kind of a good way to put it too. You can either come sometimes carrying an axe and ready to fight, or perhaps other times it's just hands and you're, okay, maybe we'll just kind of play with each other a little bit here and not try to fight, not try to get too back and forth with each other, and that's kind of the way you have to look at it out there. And every once in a while, it's hard to kind of meet in the middle too. You can be thinking that, and something totally different will come out, or you'll make a mistake and the person thinks that you're trying to block them, or who knows what can set it off sometimes. But I think we've all been there when you're kind of shaking your head and rubbing your hands going, what the heck is this guy thinking in front of me or behind me? And sometimes that can actually be your fault and you don't even realize it. So it's hard to telegraph things, through a car sometimes. Although, these competitors do know each other very well. They've been racing with each other for quite a while, so they do have it figured out, but none better, as we're saying here, as Alan DeGassis, Guido Marzucchi, Tortello up at the front, and that's why, they are up at the front and they're able to do this. They've learned those lessons, they've learned the battles that win and the battles that don't, and they know how to pick them and choose them between the two, the ones that are going to set them backwards. They know how to not fight those and back and forth there. As now we're getting a little bit of drafting here happening from Guido Marzucci, and I bet you if we watch it down the straightaway here, if he does make this pass, he's going to make sure he makes it without losing any time here, as the 927 now going to pull out beside Tor. Tor's going to breathe on that throttle, let him through a little bit, not going to fight it. They're not going to go side by side when it matters, and that's exactly how you want to do it. Maybe lose a tiny bit of time there, a bit of a late move, but still very well done.
And as we see this racing continue, I was actually just catching up in the YouTube chat as well. Brian Zazinski, after dropping out, talking about some of the drivers in the series. Gary Cattell, who we learned pretty recently. I think he has been, I think he's 78 from what we heard, and former Formula V racer in real life. Wayne Buttermore, usual contender here in these events. He's from what I'm seeing, he's at Road America for a Lemons race here today. So one of those Wayne cool. He is tuning into this broadcast. And Brian also mentioning, I think this was when we were talking about the 14-car entry list here in this race being a bit on the lower side compared to some other Formula V races. Must be the rain gremlins. Hey, we all know what happens when you combine gremlins and water.
Yeah, I remember that pretty good from my childhood too. Speaking of childhoods, you know, those movies actually kind of freaked me out a little bit, to be honest. When I was a kid, they kind of freaked me. They were a little bit gross.
I have a story of that movie. I watched it with my dad a couple of years ago. This was, I think it was probably 2024. See, the past year and a half, 2 years, it started to melt together ever since I got out of the cart. I can't really remember, but at some point in time, I was watching that movie. I genuinely thought that I'd accidentally bit into a fermented crab apple, and I was starting to hallucinate. It was just, I was looking at, I was flabbergasted with that movie. So and this coming from somebody whose first ever actual movie that he watched, not meant for a children's audience, was Used Cars. That movie, Used Cars, from 1980.
Yeah.
What a movie that was. That movie genuinely, it had no plot, but a lot of grass to make that movie possible.
Yes, quite a bit, and the Gremlins and stuff too, right? They knew how to make 80s movies, kids movies, dark back then. They were fairly dark, and there was some good ones that were very good. Because of that, they sort of trusted their audience a little bit, but then some kind of cross the line every once in a while. There's some pretty dark 80s kids movies. Gremlins being one of them that kind of freaked me out a little bit, for sure. And Used Cars, yeah, definitely. I don't really remember that one super well, but definitely maybe not one a young guy should be watching necessarily. But as we see, actually, Alan Degassis there taking a little bit of liberties over the line, getting kind of lucky with it. I wouldn't want to be that wide out on that curb, especially on the power run, and that transition maybe even from the dirt to the curb back to the road again. I'd be clenching pretty hard, but he seems to have gotten away with it. Didn't lose too much time. Lost a little to Tor there, though. And I don't think that's going to be enough to break a draft quite yet. But as we know, pushing in these cars, not really doable unless you really want to have a high pucker factor. I really wouldn't risk it. So you want to stay within that draft range there, that they're just inside here still by about 2/10. Our other packs have kind of broken up a little bit, haven't they, Ron? We got a little bit, Martin Visser here still on an island that's looking a little bit bigger than it once was. Jim Brewster back here still fighting with Angel Soto. Dan Shazinski still has the great view of that. And now, actually, Sam Chapman is starting to catch up and bringing Joshua Justice, Jason Grider, and Gary Kittle is actually a little bit farther back here with Brian Hansen still fighting in the rain here. You can see a dry line starting to appear there if my eyes don't deceive me.
I'm not sure if we will get a fully formed dry line here. The rain has just been consistently beating down on this racetrack as the drivers have been running out there. iRacing currently marking off the track as lightly wet, so pretty much just as intended here for the conditions in this race. I was going to say that maybe we'd see a gap grow at the front of the field, but again, it is Formula V racing. As soon as they head their way onto the straightaway, any margin will become just zero in the blink of an eye, and so that can put on full display with your top three. Running on board now, this Angel Soto that we brought on board with, looking at Jim Brewster, Dan Zazinski, Josh Justice, Jason Grider, all involved in that little train there as well. Little split between Justice and Grider, who has a comfortable margin between himself, and Sam Chapman, who's still running well here in this race, currently slotted in at 10. Good recovery drive from him. The thing is, with the Formula Vs, once the pack starts to break up, it's kind of like a ladder, isn't it? When the field is all close together, you can get one move done, then another, then another, then another. Right now in this field, we've got some pretty large gaps in the first couple of rungs if you're at the tail end of the field. Then it's kind of close. You can get through the mid portion of the ladder quite well. Then as you get towards the top, it's like 10 feet from that fourth to top rung to the third.
Yeah, that's actually a really clever way to put it, Ron. It is like a ladder, and you can kind of climb it just right if you get your footing right. Let's say if you can get that pass done and get it clean, and man, do you ever fall backwards if you miss your footing and fall on your butt on the ground if you don't get it right, or if you accidentally, just go too wide for too long, you fall down that ladder. For sure. It's actually a very good way to put it, and that's sort of what it feels like out there too. You can try to get one guy and then maybe the next. Sometimes you can even take a couple rungs at a time. If you're lucky, you can hop up a couple of them, but again, if you mess that up, you fall back really fast, and it's kind of hard to get back up that ladder again. And it needs to be in front of you. It has to present itself. That rung needs to be in front of you, for you to be able to climb it. You have to be able to have them within that distance, as we're seeing here again at the front. Starting to get a little bit more froggy at the front now, going side by side a little bit later and later and later into T1 here. I'm noticing starting to think about the end of the race, I would imagine, starting to assert some dominance, let's say, as they begin to jockey for position here in the top three, Ron.
Yeah, so still a decent amount of squabbling going on here, as I'm seeing Dan Szynski lose out on a couple of spots farther in the back. Tam also pointing out as well, observed by Tam in the chat, that Sam Chapman did drop down. He was running an 8th not too long ago, but lost out on not a lot of positions, but certainly a lot of time. So clearly this racetrack has been a pretty rough go for some. For some, it's been rough. For others, it has been easy. I would say for these top three, it has been a smooth night through to this point. A smooth night, smooth morning, smooth evening, whatever. I believe for Guido and Tor, it is a little bit farther along in the evening and the night. For us here, at least on the East Coast, it's getting close to the late afternoon, early evening here. It's 4:15 on the East Coast. I know for you, Josh, that's pretty much right about lunchtime for you, so I guess it does work out rather well.
Yeah, about 1:15 now for me. These races fairly early for me. It's nice to get up and kind of start my day with these. A little bit later now, obviously, with the time shift, but yeah, it's nice always to kind of start my Sundays or my weekend here with the Formula V weekend, where it's something I've come to greatly look forward to every week, to be honest, to sit in the booth with you here and do these races, and maybe no more better than in the rain at Phillip Island here with final minutes left in the race. Guido now looking for perhaps some defense here from Tor. I'm not exactly sure how you fix this puzzle of Tortello and how he's able to kind of just sneak in and find those advantages when he needs them. Alan DeGassis also floating around here, trying to figure out exactly how he's going to make this one work. Staring down a potential overall win for a Masters driver in the rain with two of the fastest drivers in V. This is when you need to start breathing and calm down. Just let things come to you, I think. But we'll see how it figures out here in the end. Alan now in the middle. Guido now pulling up the rear, and Tor leading this group.
Yeah, so I feel like with Tortello, it's a rain race, and it's a race where we usually expect photo finishes. That's basically what happens when unstoppable force meets an immovable object. So this is going to be rather fascinating as we get towards the end of this race. 2.5 minutes left on the clock. Sidecar, it's always slightly disconcerting as a broadcaster when you get a message from somebody telling you information about a show that you're meant to be on tonight that you can't even remember signing up for. So that's going to be something I tackle at the post-race. But for now, though, we've got a lot of racing left here. A lot left to be determined for your podium runners. For Tortello, it's a shot at another win to try and cement his name as the man to beat for the championship here this season. Alan DeGassis is looking to make some inroads as Jim Brewster finds himself in the middle of a squabble with himself, Angel Soto, Josh Justice, Jason Ryder, Dan Szynski. Lots of drivers involved in that battle with Jim. And as we were talking about Alan trying to make up some points in that Masters Championship battle, the same's going to be true in the case of Jim. He wants to try and do a bit of damage limitation, damage control here. Look at that. That is a hornet's nest of Formula V's as they run around this racetrack. That is cresting the hill off through turn number 8 right there. Turn number 9, pardon me, right in the mid-sector of this racetrack before the final heave-ho of the lap. A lot left to worry about here as well. Josh, one more thing to consider. The white flag is in the air.
Yeah, this is definitely when the steering racks start to tighten up. The firewalls get the most pressure they are going to have throughout the whole race. Is Guido now going to make a move into T1 for that top spot? We have Alan DeGasse on the inside trying to hold Tor to the outside a little bit. We'll try to jump back and keep a view on both of these packs for you as best we can, as they're almost going to come across the line even here in this other pack with Angel Soto leading it at the moment. He is going to also lead into that first corner with Jim Brewster on the inside of Joshua Justice as well. Jason Greider having a pretty good look, and Sam Chapman as well as Dan Szynski also back there ready to pounce in case something happens. Back up front though, Guido Marzucci is leading this race still with Tor Tullo just behind him. Not sure exactly what kind of a move he's going to be able to make here to hold Tor off down this front straight, Rana. You pretty much just get attacked if you're leading. You're kind of a sitting duck. You're just a bullseye on your back. I'm not sure what you can do here, but it looks like he's trying to back into him a little bit. What would your strat be right now?
If it were me, I would be in second and wait. That is pretty much the best place that he can be in.
Yep.
It's not working out too well for Guido, as he's going to be the one punching the hole in the air as they head their way through the final few bits of this race.
Boy.
As we look at some squabbling there, that was Angel Soto with the sideways wiggle as he headed his way off through turn number 5. Holds on to it just barely and holds on to P7 for now. Sam Chapman able to make up some moves in the process of that. Half a second back of Jim Brewster's. Here we go. Heading into the final few turns at the end of this race, it's going to be Guido, the hole punch, right in front of Tor, the champion, and Alan DeGasse is the master, trying to get a move done on the both of them. Here they go, heading their way through turn number 12. That checkered flag going to be out. Guido going to see that checkered flag. It's going to seem so close, yet so far away. A little bit of contact there as they headed their way onto the start-finish straightaway. Here we go, side by side, coming to the line, and Guido's going to win it by 23 thousandths of a second.
We'll get you a better shot of that in a moment, but that was a close one, and he was able to do it, Ron. He held him off somehow. Now we have Jim Brewster here trying desperately to hold off Angel Soto. It's not going to happen. Sam Chapman's going to come up the middle of the both of them. We're going to get a 4-wide finish almost here, and it looks like Sam Chapman is going to take that one from the back of the field, starting with a pedal problem, is going to end up in 5th place overall. Angel Soto just behind him with Joshua Justice. That was a fantastic final run there for this group of drivers. Jim Brewster really going to miss out on that one, only by 66 thousandths of a second there at the end. What an awesome finish. We'll try to get some replays for you there of our checkered flag finishes, but wow, Ron, that was 2 pretty awesome finishes in a row.
Yeah, back-to-back photo finishes. Look at that. It was 23 thousandths of a second between your top two. 23 thousandths of a second as well for your top 2 of that battle. So let's take a look at this here. It's the sort of finishes that we expect here. Honestly, of all the rain races that we've had here in the history of the Formula Vs, I'd say it probably affected Phillip Island the least out of them all, which is a little bit odd to say. Maybe it's just the way things work down there in Australia. Everything's upside down, and the other racing is upside down as well. Thankfully, nobody was upside down in this close quarters finish coming towards a stripe. There you can see splitting the difference. This was a thriller to end this race. 4 wide across the line. Jim Kahn got shuffled out there as they came across the stripe, but look at that. What do you say that was? Probably about like 2.5 feet from pretty much the nose of Sam Chapman's car to the nose of Josh Justice's car.
Yeah, I'd say maybe even less. It's crazy how close these Formula V races are often. And you see that little bump there from Tor. Not exactly sure what that was all about there. It's almost like he's like, you know what, Guido, I'm just going to let you have this one almost. I'm not sure why he'd bump him there exactly and not just take that run. Perhaps he got a little bit of a wiggle behind the wheel, but an insanely close one for them, as well as Guido going to take another win here overall. So he's looking pretty good this season, isn't he, Ron? Yeah, after last season there, I think I mentioned he needed to get a little more pointy, to get a little more confident. It's exactly what we're seeing out of Guido and that fart machine.
Yeah, Guido is always surprisingly sinister here in these races. He doesn't make his Speed known until the very, very end and comes in for the kill. Guido Marzuki, silent but deadly. Thank you, everybody. That was that was it. That was my jump the shark moment here on these.
That was peak.
It is all downhill from here.
That was peak. It's all downhill from here. Yeah, the innuendo all came together in one fell swoop there for you, and yeah, I think if you push your luck much farther than that, it might not go well.
That's like trusting a horse.
That was about as good as it can get. Thanks for the setup, Guido. I have another quick look here, just at this in slow-mo while we kind of get our bearings here and figure out who we're gonna have in for an interview. You can see that damage there on the 933 as he runs down to the line here. Just gonna get mobbed. Absolutely mobbed by everybody behind him. Maybe we'll have a look here on board if I can't get the proper car here, and unfortunately it's not letting me. There we go. Have a look on board here. You can see that just sees part here for Sam Chapman, and he's gonna try to have a look up the inside here. It didn't quite make it, but yeah, pretty awesome stuff there. Pretty awesome stuff right to the line. Very, very close driving again in the V's. Phillip Island always seeming to give us these amazing races, and Sam Chapman's gonna take that one by an axle.
Yes, so Sam Chapman, good recovery drive after a incident a bit earlier on here in this race, as well as pedal failure coming to grab the green flag. Nice little race there that we just had here in the V's. That was quite entertaining. Hopefully all of you tuning into this broadcast here on SMB enjoyed the action as well. If you did, the subscribe button, the notification bell, so you never miss out on any of the racing action. All the phrases and sayings that I do here on these broadcasts, it gets to the point where I think I said this on the air not too long ago. My best friend was coming back home from work not too long ago, and she said that I was doing a show open in my sleep. That was the sign that I should probably dip down my schedule ever so slightly if it was getting to that point. But let's take a look at our race results, shall we? And then we can move off into the interviews. You can already see Guido and Jim coming in for a little chat. We'll get to hear their wisdom about this race very, very soon. For now, though, we'll let you know that Guido was your winner. iRacing actually marked it off as 22 thousandths of a second at the end of that race. Alan Degassis will round out your podium in third, winning it in the Masters category in the process. Martin Visser will be your Spec 2 winner, ends up in fourth overall. Sam Chapman completes your top five. Angel Soto's in sixth. Josh Justice in seventh. Mid-pack of the field, we could say. Jim Brewster in P8. Jason Grider in ninth. Dan Szynski, our sponsor for today's broadcast, as well as the Four Finger Discount podcast, will round out your top 10. Gary Cattell will be in 11th. Brian Hansen in 12th. Paul Koradeshki will end up in P13. I'm sorry, Paul. Right at the end of the show, it was actually your first name that made me trip up there. And with that, Brian Szynski completing your 14-car field. So let's have a chat, shall we? I am going to have a chat with a man who is probably too familiar with my voice, being the producer of the Formula Ford and Spec Racer Ford Weekend Warriors broadcast here, and you'll be able to see his wonderful camera work as usual tomorrow here on SMB. It's our winner here in this race, Guido Marzuki, joining us here in the booth. Guido, I hope you don't mind. I said right as we saw that checkered flag, did you always make your intentions clear right towards the end? Quite sinister throughout these races. You laid low and then come in for the kill. Truly silent but deadly in the fart machine. How was it out there?
It was difficult. This track is not easy with dry conditions. In the wet is really there's a trap in every corner. If you slightly touch the curbs, you're miles out of the track suddenly, and it's you really have to be careful. It's the racing here with the wet. It's really different than doing it with the dry. You need to be really more careful, and tonight Thor, Alan and I never dare to go 3 wide into turn 1, never, and we never tried to make an overtake anywhere else than turn 1, or on the other straight right after turn 2 before the first hairpin. It was really, really scary to go too wide anywhere else. So yeah, I think Sam had a hardware issue at the start of the race.
A pedal failure.
Yeah, and Tori is a really smart guy, and as soon as he realized that the left line completely dropped, he went immediately, and so we were able to break the draft immediately. It wouldn't have been so easy to do that on a track like this one, even with the rain. But it was a good race up front, quite clean, no shenanigans. We exchanged positions a few times during the race, but I think the three of us, we all were focused on the last couple of laps to have a good position and win the race. And I've been lucky. I did the same that I did last season with the dry. It's my second win here in a row, and the first ever in the rain. So I'm really proud of this. And with the white flag, I said, okay, I will take the lead, and then it's up to them to pass me. The exact same reasoning that I had last season. And it went good. We touched with Thor on the main straight. I was drifting toward the outside. I think he thought that I would cut toward the inside at a certain point, but I didn't want to move. I didn't want to lose speed. I knew he had the overspeed. So I didn't want to move from there, do sudden moves and lose that crumble of speed that could make it a win. So yeah, I've been lucky, but it was a good race. It was a good race in the end.
Yeah, so whether it be luck and RNGesus smiling down upon you fondly or some good composed driving, it still works out the same. It's a win here in this race. Only 4 more races left to go here this season, Guido. Of course, next time out, we will be at Alton Park. What are your thoughts heading there next time out?
I love the track, but it's a common sentiment. So everybody's fast there, and we will race in the layout without the first chicane, which is the section where you can make a difference in lap times, because you really have to push through that chicane to have a good lap time. So it's one less challenge. I expect a very different race from this one. I expected at first a more numerous grid. We were not too many today. So I expect to be back to the good old numbers next week, and it will be. It's a draft. Alton Park is always with these cars a draft track. Without the first chicane, it's even more. So yeah, it will be a real battle. Elbows out. I will try to survive till the end, like I did today. I had a couple of not so good races lately, so today I just wanted to get to the end with no incidents, no spinning, anything, and I hope to carry this on for the next week.
Yeah, looking forward to seeing you out there on the racetrack, and looking forward to seeing your production work here on SMB tomorrow with a double feature between the FS and the SRS. That'll be fun. You'll get to hear my neurotic ass in about 24 hours time. Guido, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you. Actually, no, we'll let you give any thank yous or shout outs before we let you go.
As always, to the fabulous admins of this league, Stevie, the man himself, and then Jim and Michelle. They're doing a great job, a crazy difficult job to keep it all together. They are lovely person. I consider them friends. So a big thanks to them, to all the drivers, to the ones that were on track with us today, and to the others that clearly had something better to do today other than being on track. And as always, to Team Ginetto, they were racing today. I don't know how it went. I will call them as soon as I finish this interview. So anyway, Forza Team Ginetto. And see you tomorrow for the double duty.
Yeah, that'll be some fun, Guido. We'll let you get on with that phone call and celebrate the win, and we will see you back out there on the racetrack in about a week's time, and back here on SMB in about 24 hours' time.
Yeah, see ya, guys. Bye-bye.
And that right there was Guido Marzucchi joining us here in the broadcast booth. Josh, I'll pass the mic off to you and ask who you would like to have a chat with.
Yeah, maybe let's have a chat with Jim Brewster here, our Masters winner and potential booth mate in the near future here. I believe we'll have him in the booth here in the next week or two, hopefully healing up really quickly, but took a win today in Masters. Sorry, didn't take the win. Oh, yes.
Second.
In Masters today. Alan DeGassis definitely had a number today, almost taking overall victory, but you had a battle back there with your group as well, so maybe tell us how that went.
Well, due to the escapades on the pace lap, all of us had damage, so I had serious nose damage. That's why Angel would blow by every time we got to the main straight, and then I would pass him back, and then he would blow by. So luckily, he was taking the last hairpin in second gear, and he was holding everybody back behind him. And so it's just a matter, I just kept watching everybody catch up, and then Sam came along to help drag him back up. You know, Sam, the criminal that took us all out on the pace lap. So he had a major hardware failure, and it just parked his car and took out the whole right row of the grid. And anyway, so we had a lot of fun. We made some pretty good lemonade from a pretty big bunch of lemons. You know, I think the two Bryans were the only fatal victims. So I still think we did an awfully good job. We had fun last night. It's amazing how racy the place is, even though you're slipping and sliding. But hey, I just want to stop in and say hi, just give you that piece of the story, because it was, I'm sure you saw in the pace lap, it was just a giant pile. I mean, I drilled the back of Fam, and I saw cars just coming over. I mean, I was thrilled to have broke just a nose cone and not have to go to the pits. And then the pits closed. You know, so the guys that wanted to go to the pits, Brian wanted to go to the pits, and he couldn't even go to the pits because they're closed for the green. So it was definitely a pretty bad situation. But anyway, I'll see you guys whenever. So next week we're at Alton Park, and I think that should be a good one, regular dry. And then the week after that, VIR is forecast weather. So knowing Virginia could be 110 degrees. So anyway, I'm on my way on vacation. I'm heading out on vacation tomorrow, and I'm enjoying my week off before my downtime. So get Mr. Dan in here and talk to him about his Four Fingers corporate sponsorship.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, thank you so much, man. Yep. Have a good one, Jim. We'll talk to you soon.
See ya.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, man.
Right on. That was Jim Brewster. Oh, there you go.
Knock on wood there. So let's have a little chat, shall we, with our sponsor to make today's broadcast
I'm interested
possible.
here and what's going on with this podcast here. I'm actually quite interested to hear about this podcast. So go ahead there, Ron. You can take Dan and let's hear about our sponsor today.
Yeah, and Dan Szynski, welcome into the chat. So Josh is very curious about the Simpsons podcast. First off, thank you for sponsoring this. I nearly said podcast. Thank you for sponsoring this broadcast here on SMB today. We'll start off with a regular question. How was the race for you?
Well, before anything else, a big shout out to my wife, my mom, my mother-in-law, my grandma, and just huge happy Mother's Day to them. A year and some change of watching mothers do their thing. It's been a very eye-opening thing. So a huge Mother's Day shout out to all the moms out there. As far as the race, that was a lot of fun. I don't know how much you guys were catching of our pack of Jim, Angel, and I, and then it became Sam, Josh, and Grider. We were battling hard for 5th place. So it was a mentally exhausting race that you can't touch the white lines or you're spinning. You can't brake too hard or you're just losing it. It was a lot of fun though.
Yeah, it did look like a hoot outside of some of those pace lap shenanigans, which we had a slight technical issue here in the booth. We loaded up the Spec 2 points, and loaded up the Masters ones, and it was just scary seeing all those drivers.
Sam said that he had a hardware issue with the pedals.
Yeah.
That was it's a shame, but hey, you have hardware, you have mechanical failures in real life, you have hardware failures in the sim.
Yep.
Now I want to ask you about the podcast, primarily on Josh's behalf. We discovered quite disturbingly during this broadcast that I was born midway between episode 5 and 6, I believe it was, of season 16. But Josh is a big fan of The Simpsons, so we'll have to ask about this podcast here.
Well, I will say this. Technically, Maggie Simpson is older than me. The original episode, the pilot of the Simpsons Christmas special, that was episode 1, came out a couple weeks after I was born, but they had like the Tracy Ullman short before that. So The Simpsons is older than me.
Wow.
Yeah, a huge shout out to the
old.
Four-Fingered guys. Yeah, I know.
I was already 9, I
than-
think, when that came out. So
I'm already older than Homer at this point, I think. But
Wow.
so huge shout out to Guy and Dando. They do a great job with the Simpsons podcast. They also do South Park, Friends, Futurama,
Love
a bunch of movies. I don't know if you know the movie reviewer Leonard Maltin. Going back to like the 80s, but they do a podcast with him where they talk about the current and classic movies. But literally over 1,000 hours at this point of just podcasts between. So I spent a lot of time, driving the real life car to tracks and work and all that kind of stuff. So thank you to those guys. And I really, seriously, if you love The Simpsons, it's a great job. They do a bunch of interviews with cast and crew from like even going back to the old days. They had some of the greatest writers that have been on the show, and even current crew. So yeah, it's a good show.
very cool.
See, I am curious here as somebody who knows a disturbing amount about the history of late night television. Have they had Conan O'Brien on that podcast? No, they can't get him. that's their white whale. No, he doesn't. I don't think he does a lot of. He loves The Simpsons, but I think he's kind of like, I did so little on that. Why are people talking about me as a Simpsons writer?
Right.
Yeah,
That's also a good podcast, by the way. Is Conan's podcast.
Yeah, Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend. That was kind of like how I was aware of Conan beforehand, and then I got into the podcast, and then I just went down the rabbit hole of his old clips on either late night, his brief run on the Tonight Show, on his TBS show. I have gone down too many late night television rabbit holes. But Dan, I do want to ask you about the next round of the championship. Alton Park for week 9. What are your thoughts heading there?
That's a good one, but I think I am busy next week. So I think the next 2 weeks I'm out for like watching Liam and just other stuff that I think I'm gonna miss a couple races, but I'm also just not doing well lately. I need to the results haven't been coming to me, so oh well. But yeah, I think I'm out the next couple weeks, but I, of course, will be watching, as you guys know. You'll be hearing from me in the chat.
Hey, we always like having an active chat. I will say, though, having baby Liam tune into the shows is maybe not the best idea with me on the air. I remember telling our old pal, Mr. Adam Thompson, this. If his daughter's first words are falling anvil, I'm resigning effective immediately to broadcasting and never being on the air again.
No, hers will be a meow.
Yeah, that's right. Good call.
A meowing member of the Air Force. Who'd have thought? But Dan, we'll let you give any thank yous or shout outs before we let you go.
Another huge shout out to the Four Finger guys. I love everything they do. Again, to my wife and mom and all the moms out there, and to is it Tom Went from TW3 that did my
that's correct.
delivery for today. I hope you guys got a good look at that. The Four Finger discount mobile. Yeah, but Yeah, and of course to the rest of my family, my brother, my dad, sister, and to you guys, I look forward to watching this race.
It was a fun one here. I think I said that of all the tracks that we've had rain at, Phillip Island was maybe changed the least with the rain. It changed it in very big ways and very small ways as well. It's kind of odd. It's sort of what I expected, but still weird.
We were still going 3 wide into turn 1 in the rain.
Yeah.
What the hell was that?
It's like it wasn't even
Exactly.
raining kind of at times there. It's strange.
Yeah. Yeah.
All it changed was the visibility and made the show a little bit drier. But Dan, we'll hope to see you back out there on the racetrack, wherever it is, in the not too far off future.
Yeah, later, guys.
And that right there was Dan Szynski joining us here. And we'd like to thank Dan for sponsoring this week's broadcast here on SMB. Josh, would like to have a good time as always. We had a good time here, but Alton Park next time out, that's going to be spicy.
Yeah, Alton Park's always a little spicy, isn't it? I love that place personally. It's fast, it's punchy, it's narrow. It's got a bit of undulating. It's got some bad, some curbs, some interesting corners. I really like that place a lot, so I think it's going to be a fun one for sure. But great race today at Phillip Island. Going to thank our sponsors here as well. I'll be checking that podcast out later for sure. And of course, happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there. Got to say happy Mother's Day to my mama. And of course, we'll be talking to her a little bit later. But yeah, I think that's probably going to wrap it up for us here. I'll let you get to our upcoming shows here on. I'm pretty sure I actually updated it, so it is up to speed here too with our 2 races for tomorrow.
Yeah, that it is. We're going to be back here at Phillip Island for the Formula Ford Weekend Warriors tomorrow. I want to thank Sim Racers Group for sponsoring the action there, along with the Spec Racer Fords running at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Road Course, truly the road course of all time. Speaking of the Sim Racers Group, they'll be back here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. The F4 is going to be at Sandown here, a track that was described by one of the F4 drivers this past week as being slightly depressing. So that'll be a real vote of confidence heading off into that race.
Yeah, it's a hard one.
And the F4s, F3s in the Sim Racers Group will also be at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Road Course. Formula Vs will return here to Slow Motion Broadcasting at Alton Park in 1 week's time. I actually looked into it because I am curious. Obviously, tomorrow is covered by Sim Racers Group, but the week after, week 9 of the Spec Racer Fords is going to be covered by Nathaniel Schramm, we're hearing as well. That'll be at Barber Motorsports Park on that week. That will be on the 17th here on the channel. Day after that, you'll be able to catch the season finale for the Grand Prix Tour. They'll be running at Suzuka for the championship finale race. A lot of fun here on SMB, as well as a special event coming up right towards the end of this month, the Adam W. E-Step Memorial Scholarship Race. I'll be in Mustang GT3s. Our weekend warrior commentator and colleague, Mr. Charles Beauchel, who was very grateful to have him in the booth in place of me last week. He will be out there on the racetrack for that. I believe, Josh, you've expressed an interest to potentially be running in that as well. All the donation links.
Yeah, we'll see how
to
that
be able
goes.
to join in the event, donate to the event, and watch it here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. Come time for the broadcast on May the 30th are all here. There's the Grand Prix Tour schedule. We just recently covered the second to last race of the season at Portimao, and there's that May 18th season championship race. That'll be a lot of fun here on the channel as well. But after this broadcast here for round number 8 of the I nearly said Sim Racers Group F4 Championship. That's not the broadcast we're doing here.
Lots
Let
of
me
races.
try that one again.
So much racing.
And so for this broadcast here for round number 8 of the Formula V Weekend Warriors here on Slow Motion Broadcasting, that will just about do it. So for myself, Ron Maunz, and Josh Wilkie working the comms and the cams with me on today's show, I say thank you all so very much for tuning into the action on Slow Motion Broadcasting today, and we hope to see you all wherever it is in the not too distant future.